What's up, everybody? This is Herschel from High School Top 200, and this is the Top 200 podcast, the Monday morning meeting, as I do every Monday morning, to keep you guys up to date with what's going on and how it looks around the country, all the scores and stuff that I guess I'm surprised at, or games that I thought were maybe a bit lopsided, some upsets, things like that. If you're new to this channel, as always, to go in, like, subscribe, and comment, and share, and tell your friends about it, and tell their friends to tell their friends, and also to jump on my website, hstop200.com, and click on some ads, give me some money, so those big companies like Google and that can pay me some, YouTube can pay me some. Yeah, we're gonna go through some of the stuff. This is my Father's Day tie that my 5-year-old made for me. She said, "Dad, you should wear this when you go on YouTube." So that's what I'm doing, because she just tells me what she wants me to do and I do it. That's what most fathers do with their daughters. And so, yeah, sporting this first edition London Chanel Fruin tie accessory, whatever you call it, and talks about some rugby. And some other thoughts. I got some other thoughts, like, like the All Blacks that have just been named. Things like that. It's getting to the end, I think. Well, we'll go through the scores first, right? So, I already talked about Silverstream, which was a Silverstream Palmy, which was a really wet game. Kind of didn't really get us anywhere. Hatapota won against St. Bernard's, that as well. Te Awamutu and Matamata. Matamata won against Te Awamutu over here in Porongia, not far from where I live. St. Thomas beating Shirley was big. I thought that was a big one. And a pretty big game too. But as always, we'll go from down the rankings of the top 25 first, and we'll talk about all that kind of stuff. And then we'll go into the rest of the games and all the other kind of things that matter after that. So the first game, 80 points, Hamilton boys versus Gisborne boys. And I've always said, if you want to play Hamilton boys, play them at the beginning of the year. That's where they're the most rusty. That's where they're the most not, they're just not as connected. And the dangerous time to play them is at the end of the year, and Gisborne kind of found that out. And Gisborne's not a bad team. Like, their scores aren't that bad. Like, even though they've lost, it's like they're not that bad. And I kind of think they were a bit lucky that Taha wasn't kicking as good. And I don't know why Taha wasn't kicking that good, but he just wasn't kicking as good. But that's a lot of points they left behind. You don't want to run up the score, but even, and I guess in terms of Taha himself, he would want to feel confident about his kicking, that he can go in every single game and then nail at least 80% of them. That's kind of the goal. Like, I mean, no one, it's sort of what like OG said in the Raptors, like, he goes, "I don't shoot to miss, I shoot to get it in." Same thing with kickers, is that they don't shoot to miss. Of course, they shoot to make all of them, but you want a high percentage rate, at least a high percentage rate. But yeah, I think that Taha missed some ones that I guess he'll get most of the time anyway. And it's not like they were playing in Gisborne; they were playing in Hamilton, and that's his home ground, and he knows what it looks like. The feelings are all the same, and all the dimensions of, things that he sees all the time. He sees it, it's just normal to him. But just had a bad day kicking. I'm not sure what you can say about 80 points in the game. And I guess this is kind of where, even when I was talking before about Waitaki boys, when they played and, they got the score run up on them as well, is that, what do you say? And I think the thing is that I know that, because, like, it's the same as Waitaki, because Waitaki was a very young team that I found out after how young they actually were. And I guess rugby participation numbers down in Waitaki boys is not what it used to be and what it should be even now, but they're building it up and they've got some good things coming, so which is great. Thing with Gisborne is that I know how young they are, but I also know how strong they can be as a team, because even the scores, and I guess in this year's competition, it's it's not like they have been, it's not like they've been smoked every single game that they've played. Um, I think it's just one of those things that you kind of, uh, I think there's a point to it where you kind of let the game get away from you. Um, and it's not, it's where one team is on and one team is having their best game, which was Hamilton, where they were just having their best game, and Gisborne boys were just having their worst game, and just kind of collided all on just one game, and all of it just happened, and then you get an 80-point game like that. Um, but I mean, if you look at some of their scores, right? Scots College and Gisborne boys, 31-22 to Scots College. Gisborne boys beat Wellington College 48-8. Gisborne just lost to St. Pat's Silverstream 26-14, which is like a really close game. Palmy boys just beat them 23-21. And I guess it's just one of those things that I'm not sure what it is, I'm not sure what it is, that, because it's not like the boys go out there to lose by that much. Like no one goes out there to lose by that much, and you just get really I just think you couldn't stop the bleeding. I think that's kind of what it is what it was for Gisborne boys, and even the tries that were scored. And I'm not trying to take credit away from Hamilton boys, because you really can't. I mean, 80 points, you can't take any credit away from them, saying, "Oh, like you can't bring him like, oh, the ref was biased because he's from Hamilton." It's like, yeah, not 80 points biased. That's a bit bad. That's way beyond that. But I mean, it's just one of those things, I guess. And so I don't know. I don't think that there was a Gisborne boys side that, especially what I've seen throughout this whole year, that's just not who they are. That's not how they've been. That's not the kind of team that they are. They don't put up, let people score like that. But yeah, anyways. New Plymouth had a really good game against Napier boys, which I really, really enjoyed, and thought that was pretty much how I thought it was going to turn out. I thought it was going to be such a close game, and 3 points was in it, with New Plymouth boys coming out 25-22 over them. And I liked the forward battle between both forward packs. I thought was real cool, and I think just the way that they defended against each other was real physical. I like that aspect of it. I like that aspect of it, and then I think the loose trio for Napier boys is going to be special next year. I just think that they're a bit different, like with Ratcliffe, Brown, and Malacia. With Brown and Ratcliffe both being year 11s, and then Malacia's only year 12 as well. They are going to be a bit of a problem next year for people if you let them, I guess, out physical you, because that's what I like about those three too, is just how physical they are, how physical they play, and they're only young boys. They're not even older guys at all. They're not even seniors, and they're still just really roughing it with the older fellas. And so I like that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's kind of how all three of them are. Even Malacia, when he was last year as a year 11, that's how he was too. He was playing open side and some 8 and blind side as well, but he was just the same way. Even when I watched Max Ratcliffe and Gus Brown as under 15s. They were just the same way, and I spoke about them at the under 15 tournament and how good they actually were. And it seems like it's transitioning over to first 15, which is great to see. I like seeing that kind of stuff. But yeah, I thought that was a good battle as well, and one of the better games that I watched over this weekend. St. Pat Silverstream doing a number of Altair, which was understandable. I knew that was going to happen. That Christchurch and Rangiroa game was real good. And there was a few of them that came right down to the end. Actually, all of them came right down to the end. The Christchurch one came right down to the end. Palmy Boys Rotorua came right down to the end. That Whanganui and St. Peter's School came right down to the end. The King's High School, Southland Boys came right down to the end. Even Hastings against Tauranga Boys, all right down to the end. St. Andrews and Christ College was also right down to the end. So most of the games this weekend were all real close games. They were real close games. Like, I mean, I guess all of the big time games were all, just that way. Even like Tawa versus Wairarapa was like a real close game. Rongotai almost losing it to Mana College, who's building a program there and is doing really well. They're the same thing. So I'm guessing like all the boys are all at that they're at that level now where they know that this is everyone's kind of warmed up now. The season's in it, and everyone's sort of hitting their peak right now, which is real important too, with semi-finals and finals coming up over the next few weeks or so. And I feel sorry for like the 1A boys and North Harbour and that the North Harbour comp as well, is that they're just going to have to try and pick it up somehow, get some enthusiasm back for rugby after being off for so long. I think it's just kind of tough. But anyways, there's like I said, the Christchurch game. Scots and Wellington College was a good game. Their first half was really, really good. I really liked the first half, and Wellington, they just couldn't hold it in the second half, and I don't know what it is. I don't kind of know how to explain it, because everything was working for them in that first half. Even though they were behind, it wasn't a stretch out. And then the second half happened, and it was kind of like they were just falling off tackles that they were making in the first half. And Scots didn't really change up that much about their game either. They still had the same runners, running the same lines, using the same patterns, but they were just not sticking anymore. The tackling just wasn't there. The tackling just wasn't sticking like it was in the first half. And I feel sorry for Wellington too, because they held it out, like they did everything they're supposed to do. But it's just, I guess this is one of those things where obviously you don't decide when someone falls to the ground. You just have to make it happen. And some teams can keep that pressure up all game. And maybe Wellington just has to find that little thing inside them to make sure they play the full 70 minutes. And that's kind of what Scots did, is that they just played their same game, didn't even alter what they were doing that much, besides subs. But then, they just kind of have the players as well, Scots, and so it's Scots have a team too, so they are working on it. I've been real tough on Wellington College over the past almost 5 years now, where I've just seen them decline, not just from, not just at first 15 level, but at the 15s level. And then I've been told why their rugby program is going down, and the theories behind it, and they are justifiable ones as well. Like, I can understand why it's like that. I think just as a rugby guy that's following this, and all the old boys will agree, is that it's just something that you're not used to. And I mean, I'm sure they don't want to get used to that kind of rugby program being around, and that being the reputation of Wellington College rugby, but it seems like it's going that way. From the team that I've seen, and the one that I watched, and what they're building around, I think that they have something. I just want to see how long it goes on for. But the year 12s and year 11s that they have now are pretty talented players. Obviously, you got Jacob there as well at first five, who is capable of running a team and is capable of directing. And I guess it's just putting those guys around him to back him up, kind of thing. And Toby Cook's there as their captain, And so, it's just one of those things. Josh Williams is there, who I think is a young year 13, so can come back. If he comes back, he can come back. But I mean, they've got it. They've got something there, and it's enough to build around. When you got a player like Jacob, then he's a guy that's reliable, and you can design something for him to work out, and I think they can do it. So it's going to be interesting just to see how it works out going into next year and see what they can do with it. Palmy Boys and Rotorua, like I said, that was a tough game and a tough ending too. And I still don't understand. And like I wrote, like I wasn't at the park. I didn't hear what they were hearing on the field. Like, usually when you stand on the sideline, you hear the ref or the touchy go, "Oh, there's 2 minutes left." Even though the time has run over, it's just like, well, we're waiting for the referee's watch to hit that 70-minute mark. We don't care what anybody else is saying, because he stops it when he wants to stop it, and then when there's injuries and stuff like that, and then he so we're really watching his watch. Obviously we didn't hear what the time was, but it felt like it was over, and they were in the lead, and they were playing like I wrote, they were playing like they were trying to score again, even though they were in the lead and had the position of the ball. Strange. To me, that's strange. But again, I don't know what they heard, unless they didn't know that they were ahead, or they weren't sure of the circumstances. Well, they must not have known they were ahead, because then they were passing it around like they were trying to break the line. It's like, why wouldn't you just slow the game down and just run out the clock? Forwards get together in eights and just run it from the base of the ruck. Like, why wasn't that? Why wasn't anyone saying that? Why did no one indicate them? And I'm not even just talking the guys on the field. I'm talking even the sideline. I mean, I couldn't hear it on the live stream, but it didn't seem like they were getting the message if they were being told. And so that's kind of a sad way to end. Even the sad way it ended, when you throw a pass and then it looks like a pass to nobody, because he skipped out two people that were right next to him. And then again, why didn't you just hit it up? Leo Gordon's a big kid too. He's not like a small fella that is easy to put down. Just run it in. Your forward's right there. You had support there, but he went for this big skip over the top. And John just happened to be there. And Holdua just picked it up and ran it in. And then the time finished, and he won the game from. And it's such a crappy way to finish, but that's just how it went. And I imagine it's going to be a hard one for him to take, but that is just what happens with rugby and in sports, is that you just have those crap moments, and like, it's not just his fault though, because nobody was saying anything. Even the guys on the field were still trying to run and play fast, and no one even tried to slow it down. So it's not just him. It's not just him that you look at, but he's going to feel it like, well, he's going to think, well, I threw the last pass. That's all that matters. I was like, well, not really. There's always other factors, There's always other factors in that kind of stuff. But I guess it's just one of those things. That St. Paul's game against Fielding that was just St. Paul's all day. Fielding just didn't have an answer, and I didn't like the way, because they have too many guys in their backline that were just too good. I mean, they got Josh at halfback, they got John T at first five, they had Foley at second five with Kyle at centre, then they had Terrence at the back with Moape on one wing, and the other wing was can't remember the other guy's name on the other wing. But all of them are attacking players, and they only managed 12 points out of that. And it just wasn't working, and I mean, I even when I was watching it, I was kind of trying to figure out what they needed to do more of, but they had enough touches. I feel like they had enough touches. I feel like Fielding had enough opportunities to build stuff. It just never was really happening. And I thought the forwards played pretty good. Maybe scrum time was the only problem that I have where they weren't as consistent. But I felt like they were maybe I have to watch that again. But it felt like they were recycling it all right. It just wasn't like the execution was off in the back line, and it's like there was no real game plan, which is strange because Jonty is a really good first five who's real technical and is a game manager in the way that he does it. But this is like the first time I've ever seen him play like this, where it didn't look like he had a game plan. But every other time where I've seen him over 3 years now, he's always played like a really structured game. And pretty much those guys that were with him in the back line have all been there all the same years. Yeah, I mean, I know Kyle, Terrence, Foley, and Jonty have all been there the same amount of time, all 3 years all 3 years or 4 years. Foley, I think, is on his 4th year. 3 years for the other three guys, for Terrence, Jonty, and Kyle. And Moapi has been in their 2nd year now, I think, as far as I can remember. But all of them, they all didn't play that well. They all didn't do something. It's not just one of them, it's all of them. And it was just such an off day. But then you had that St. Paul's team was just running it through. And I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I can't really say what it is. Like, maybe I'll watch it again. Oh, I'll definitely watch it again. And all I know is that it just didn't look the same. It just didn't look the same. Um, it didn't look like the fielding that you're kind of used to. They just weren't the same. Whatever that is, and all the guys, I guess, in that back line were really solid for St. Paul's, because Ben Strang always plays fast, and he always has an eye on those defenders, all those guard dogs. He always looks at them, always runs. He runs to the rucks, has his eye on them, and always kind of just gives it a flow to the way he plays, and he just waits for one of them to shoot a bit too fast, and he knows which one's going to be coming soon, and he'll just take off, and he'll just expose those guard dogs if they take off too fast before he's even passed the ball. and he'll just throw a dummy sometimes and just take off. But then even with Anudu as well, Anudu was playing a real physical role for a first five, and Anudu's not small. He's a big boy as well. He could easily play second five and or be a fullback and be an attacking fullback, somewhere along those lines. But I thought he was very aggressive, and I think it worked because it got Caleb Wick in a few of those gaps. Even Jay Broomfield, I think it was, that was there. Matthew Johnson played the best in that back line, I thought, of how many line breaks he made. And then Lincoln Winter and Nia Church also had a really big role, as well as Campbell Robb, who always does. And Havila and Quinton actually played a tight role where they did a lot of the dirty work. Like, Havila's not really, when he plays, he's not really a dirty work kind of guy, but he went through a lot of work in that dirty stuff, which actually helped out a lot for other players to get those opportunities to make those breaks. But even though it was different, I actually kind of liked it, the way that he played that way and showed that he can also play that way, and he wasn't just one of those guys that was just waiting in the midfield for a border run. And so in the end, it really did become a bit lopsided, and St. Paul's winning 34-12, and that's Fielding's second loss in a row, which is surprising, which they haven't done that this whole year. And they've actually, Fielding has been real solid. Had a bit of a, I think it was like 3 weeks where they didn't have a game, or 2 weeks. But they seem to be all right when they came back. But I mean, yeah. Because I've played Napier and Hastings, I think. And did they beat Napier? Lost to Hastings and beat Napier, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was one of those. But I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard. I mean, when you have a year like we're having now, and everything is so new and unfamiliar, that players have never had to, rugby has never had to do stuff like this. And so, it's really, I guess, it's just new for everyone, and no one really knows exactly what to do and how to approach things. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a tough one, and I mean, Fielding's gonna, Fielding, I guess, will come back from it, and Fielding will, I mean, because they have a smart coaching staff that works with the team in the first 15, and they have good players. So, and maybe semi-finals, but it doesn't mean that it's the end, I guess. Especially in the year when they start to look at the year and how they've handled things, I think, well, that's kind of just how it's fallen. I mean, I guess when you look at your goals at the beginning of the year, that's probably how it's going to look. But I don't know. I'll still be pretty proud of. I mean, like they even beat Napier Boys earlier this year, and they beat St. Paul's like a few weeks back before, like 40. They beat them 45-26, which is such a big opposite to what it was on Saturday. But I mean, maybe it was just their bad game that they had. Maybe it was, Maybe it was just that way. I mean, because like if you look on the other side, St. Peter's beating Whanganui, who Whanganui beat Fielding just last week too. Whanganui was expected to win that game, but St. Peter's came out and won that one to go into the finals with St. Peter's and St. Paul's final for the CNI competition. I don't know, it just gets it falls kind of like that. Look at the game like Stack, who I keep complaining about that they don't repeat what they did last week, and so happy that they won. And that they keep attached to that top four beating Christ College 33-31 is such a good game as well. It was just like another one of those close games that I enjoyed, and I'm so happy that Stack, stopped that bleeding and now can push on after that and sort of get themselves ready for that playoff situation that they're going to have there in the UC Championship, and keeping attached to the top as well is another important thing. I mean, because Christchurch boys, them beating Rangiora as well, which obviously could have went any way, with Nicholas just dropping the ball over the line and right in the last movement. It's just one of those things, kind of like the Palmy boys one as well. It's just one of those what if moments, I guess. But that was such a good game as well. So, two really good games, and the UC Championship is really, really tight right now. St. Bett's Town almost lost to St. Bernard's, which, I give it up to St. Bernard's. I haven't seen the game. I didn't see that. I'm not too sure if there's a link. If there is a link to that game of a live stream, please send it to me, because I'll be pretty keen to have a look at that game as well. And the King's High School in Southland one that ended right at the end, like so close from the end, just ended like that. And I think Southland was just on the King's High School line, just bashing it for like 5 minutes, just really having a go at it. Hastings and Tauranga boys was the same thing too. Hastings just winning that one just through hard defense, and it actually looked like he went over the line. But I'm glad the refs weren't biased. I think that's something that refs now have got to be careful, with all this live streaming stuff. You always hear the hearsay of oh no, that ref was cheating, he was bad, he was this and he was that. Now that there's so many refs that are going to be seen on live stream, you can easily go and have a look and then check it out for yourself and be like, oh yeah, that ref wasn't that great, and he was a bit one-sided with his calls, and he was a bit of a clown, and no, he was actually that good. He was actually pretty good. He caught a fair game. He really was fair in his callings. And the same with this is where the ref, is from Bay of Plenty, with the best Bay of Plenty, I guess, well, apart from Rotorua, but he could have easily just called it for the home team. But I guess he stayed true to what he thought was as a ref, and good on him. Because I know a lot of refs out there that wouldn't. They'll be like, no, home team, no try. Let's go celebrate. But yeah, I give it up to whoever that ref was. Keep him true like that. Like I said, the CNI competition, St. Peter's had a really good game against Whanganui, and just the way that ended to 27-24. Adam Lennox playing good. Harry Godfrey and Dawson Smith, their battle was pretty mean. But St. Peter's just came away with it. The game that I was annoyed at was the one before that, and that was the St. John's and Rathco one. St. John's, who I knew that were better than Rathco. I did. The game ended 50-24. In the first half, you wouldn't have even expected it to be that close. Rathco was just killing them in that first half. Just making them look average. And I kind of saw it as just like, well, St. John's know that they're good and know that they have a squad and they have a good returning squad with most of those boys all coming back. but they just played with. I think to me it just looked like they just played with the arrogance that they were going to win, and they thought, well, we have it won on paper, so I think this is going to be easy. And Rafkill just took it to them, and it took the second half for St. John's to wake up and really start running, and I mean they're lucky that they found that gear. They're lucky they found a way to get out of that, because a lot of young teams can't get out of that kind of mess. They usually just lose the game. But they found a way out of there, and winning 50-24 is real impressive when that's the end score, when it wasn't like that at all. Oh, someone's going to get punched. But that was the one I was most disappointed at. But one of the players in Rafkill I really liked was at number 8. I'm going to find his name somewhere. I've read it. I've seen it before. He was one of the guys that I thought was really, really good on that Rafkill side. And then when he went from number 8 into hooker, and hooker, I think, is his natural position. I think he might be playing out of position just in terms of how the team is. But when he went to hooker, he was just way better and just, he just made it work. And I thought he was one of the better players on the weekend that I saw. Francis Douglas was just, losing 36-12 to St. John's. And they've got injuries. They got a lot of key injuries, and so. I guess it's just not fun. It's just not fun to be in that situation with such a good school like Francis Douglas. It's just not fun to be like that and to be losing the games like that as well. And so they took a hard one. Really feel sorry for them, but they took a hard one. Tawa College beating Wairarapa, which I was actually really surprised at. I thought Wairarapa would have this one. Rongotai almost losing 36-31 to give it up to Mana College for that one. Them really taking it to Rongotai. Mana College got a lot of boys coming back next year. And with what I heard about the way that they are building, to me it's like Upper Hutt High School who won 95-3 against Wellington College second 15. 95-3 to me indicates that I think that they can have a go at Wellington College first 15. If you can beat the second 15 by 95-3, you can definitely have a go at their first 15. Because I actually think Upper Hutt College is one of the ones that missed out, and they were just unlucky in the way that they missed out. I think if Upper Hutt College was in the first grade right now, they have massive chances to beat Aotea, Mana College. By this showing Rongotai College, I think they can have a go at Tawa and Wairarapa, and they should have been added to it. I mean, I can understand the numbers and all that kind of stuff, and that's how it is, but there's got to be some kind of like study in it to go, oh no, they've got a team, they've been building a program, they look really good. I don't know, maybe make an extra spot or something. But I feel like Upper Hutt High School should be in that first grade. Because when you're winning 95-3, against other teams, it's just too much. Hibs 27, 7 over Wainuamata. Kapiti College lost 12-28 to Poriru College, and Taita College lost 52-24 to Scots College second 15. Nainai College beat Onslow College 24-14. Bishop VI beat Hutt Valley High School 50-7, which is a good score. Timaru Boys had a massive win. This is the one I like. Timaru Boys have had early injury problems, and like they've lost their captain, who would have been great this year at second 5, but then they've managed to, I guess, slowly crawl their way back, and I guess. I don't know. Maybe that was a big boost of them. With Waitaki Boys, I think that might have been a bit of a boost, and I guess the way that, because Waimea is not an easy team to beat, and you sort of showing that, but they travelled from Timaru up, travelling all that way, and then winning 31-11 is great. That's a really good score. Marlborough Boys winning 26-5 over Aoraki combined. Nelson winning 48-7 over Lincoln combined. St. Bede's 62-19 over Mid-Canterbury combined as well. I guess those were kind of obvious ones. But Aoraki seems to be a bit more competitive now. Maybe they're just getting better. Maybe they're just putting it together and it's finally looking like something that I guess they can work and compete with. Yeah, that you can work and compete with. If that's what you want to call it. South Otago High School beat Waitaki Boys 25-17. Otago Boys first 15, they did a number on Dunstan, 69-0. Wakatipu, 59-12 over Otago combined. St. Kevin's won 35-25 over Mount Aspiring. If there's like a live stream, if there was a live stream to that St. Kevin's Mount Aspiring, if you can send me where it is or where I can find it, I'll be pretty keen to watch that game. John McGlashan finally winning again, 36-0. John McGlashan's probably been maybe one of the disappointing ones from this year. Because I expected a lot from them. Because they have a lot of good players that have come back. And a lot of experienced players too, which I was kind of surprised at that they didn't. They had 4 of those guys that, there's 7 guys that I really look to in that team that are kind of the leaders of that team, and 4 of them were injured at one point, but then they were losing games that they shouldn't have been losing, even with those 4 out. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm just kind of disappointed that that's how it's turned out for them, and I won't be the only ones. Like, those boys know exactly what they knew, what kind of team that they had. They knew how good they were going to be this year, and it just didn't work out. They don't have no control over that, but they know themselves that they're a top 4 team in that region, and they really should be in there. Yeah. But yeah, that's the those are all the games from this week. And the rankings will change. No, not a whole lot, but they will change. Definitely some guys that will be falling. Some readjustments as well with Palmy Boys. Beating Silverstream, but then losing to Rotorua, so I've got to kind of balance that one out as well and see what comes out of that, because that will be one of those ones where something has to be looked at. Like, Silverstream have to fall in some way, but then does that put Silverstream behind Palmy and behind Rotorua Boys, or do they just fall in front? And how does that work out too? I mean, it's the same with Stack, Christ College, Rangiora, and Christchurch Boys. It's like, how much does Christchurch Boys move up? How much will Rangiora fall back? And does Rangiora fall back behind Christ College, just in front, or just behind Stack? And then where does it leave some of those other ones? Because Fielding's going to have to fall back. St. Paul's Collegiate's going to have to jump back into the top 25. I got to look at St. Peter's School as well, jumping into that top 25 if they've done enough to. Games like that, I think, is how far back Gisborne falls. Does New Plymouth Boys move up? How far back does Napier drop back? Or even if they do, Hastings winning over Tauranga, does that mean that they stay in the top 25, or do people jump over them because Some teams have got better wins. Things like that is what I kind of think about when I start coming up into all these kind of things. And so even some teams that you may have bet before, you beat them before, and then they end up ranked higher than you because you go on a string of losing games that you maybe should have won. And there's some of those games that you lost were teams that team that you beat, they've beaten those teams that you lost to. So you kind of have to work those out. Well, how important are those wins and losses together, and by what kind of margins they lost at, where they lost at, who was missing. Was there a ball night? Like I've said before, is like whenever the ball is on, all that kind of stuff matters. Yeah, all that kind of stuff matters. So that's like one of those things that I kind of think about Sunday nights, and sometimes even Monday mornings. Like sometimes Monday mornings, I look at it again and go, nah, that kind of don't feel good about that, and then change it up again. Things like that. And that's kind of why I do the rankings, because people go, well, do you have an algorithm? I was like, well, algorithms don't really sort out non-measurable things like that, like a ball. You can't really put a number or price on how much points that, how much that is worth or how much it's not. Even sometimes guys have field trips, and some guys are missing or they don't go to trainings, and all that kind of stuff, and the value on different players that are missing, all those kind of things. To me, algorithms don't answer that kind of stuff. They just don't have the answers, and I think it takes more of like a human mind to think about those and actually try and rank it better than what an algorithm would. I guess taking the human side into it is what I'm saying. But I mean, as this gets bigger, and even for all the other sports that I want, it's like I want 5 people to sit there and argue it out and go, this is what the rankings are. I don't want it just to be one person. I personally don't even want it just to be me. I want me to be arguing with 5 other guys that do this thing, and we all work together under, let's say, First 15 Boys Rugby. We all have our same areas. We all go through the rankings, and we all go, this is what we think it should be, and argue it out. Then we come up with a ranking. Same thing with what I do with basketball. I would have 2-3 people all in the same room and just argue it out on the Sunday, so that on the Monday morning we can have all the rankings and stuff like that, and it's done sort of that way. And I think that's a better way than having an algorithm and that kind of stuff. And like, I guess the BCS was one way to me that doesn't work out, because people still argue, like especially college football, they still argue, it's like, well, that's not right. And then even with basketball, the AP polls are not the same as the national ranking and the NCAA ranking, and then you have like ESPN's ranking, and then USA Today have a ranking as well, and they're all really different. So to me, it's just like, well, algorithms got really no real answer to it, because one algorithm is different to the others, and people just have different opinions and things like that. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. The All Blacks, I like the All Blacks because, especially with these picks this year, because now we have more guys that were part of the top 200. I counted, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 of the All Blacks that were selected have all been on the top 200 rankings before. And I think that's kind of the reason why I like it. I like doing it this way, because I saw them when they were all 15. Some of them were 14. And I saw them play from this level, and to me, it was more like the I wonder how far this kid is going to go. Like, I never have that opinions of I knew this guy was going to be an All Black. My thing is like, I know that this guy is going to be a Super Rugby player. Because All Blacks are a different thing, like a 3.4% is what you do. That's kind of the average percentage of someone making a Super Rugby contract and being a professional. Being All Blacks even lower, because our All Blacks, they clock those caps a lot. They there's a lot of them. They go really high into their caps, and so some boys get fed up, or some boys just get fed up and leave, and so to have that many guys make it from a top 200 rankings list, I love it. I love seeing that kind of stuff. I love seeing that. Even when I was when I posted up the All Black team yesterday, and I put their high school pictures there, and just looking at those pictures and thinking, flipping hell, Hoskins was young as this then. Like, look at how young, Tupou looks. Even Braden, I remember talking to Braden at in Rotorua when they came for the top 4, but he was injured. He did his knee, and I remember asking him too. I said, "Well, how bad is your knee?" And he goes, "Oh, it's pretty bad, eh?" I said, "Oh, true." I said, "Where are you going next year?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm going to go sign." He goes, "I'm going to sign with the Crusaders." And this is when he hadn't signed yet. And he goes, "Oh, I think I'm going to sign with the Crusaders." And I remember going, "Oh, that's good, man. Like, good on you." I said, "Yeah, just go where you want to go. Don't stay for anybody. Like, just don't let anybody talk you into something that you don't really want to do." And he goes, "Yeah, I want to go down there." And I remember having this little conversation where it wasn't long, maybe only like 2 minutes or something like that. And then I just let him be. And just watching him go through the under-20s New Zealand and that, which was cool because like he missed out on New Zealand secondary schools because he was injured. But I have a feeling he would have made it. All that kind of stuff. I remember watching Jack Goodhue when, I used to call him Elias because that's what his name was. That's what all the boys told me his name was, and they always called him Elias. But then I don't know where Jack came from. Maybe that, I'm not too sure. But he was Elias when I first heard of him and talked about him. And he was like open side second 5 for most of the time. And in 2013, and so it's cool that you get to see these guys coming through. Even Rico, when he was at Auckland Grammar, he was playing centre and not on the wing, and it wasn't until he came out and then he started going on the wing, and now he's made himself a contender at midfield now. I think he made himself that, and I think for a long time they didn't want to put him there. But I guess just his belief in himself to do it, then he's made it work for him, and that's cool as well. I mean, I saw Akita. I still think Akita's the best attacking player that I've seen in first 15 rugby, even to this day. I think the other one would have been Marino. Mikaele Tu'u would be the other guy. Both number 8s, but he was also a guy that you just couldn't tackle. Kind of like Akita was the same too. They were just so hard to bring down. Like when they were on the run, it wasn't just easy just to tackle them. It wasn't easy just to get one guy to try and hit him, and they just wouldn't give up. It's just one of those kind of things. And I think those two are probably the best attacking guys that I've seen for a while. I mean, you also got Alex Fido as another one. I think Thomas was a more powerful runner, more powerful and physical than Peter was, Umaga Jensen. Thomas was the more physical one, Peter was the one that played, who was also still strong, but played more, I guess, a lot more thoughtful, where he was kind of the brunt guy, and he would smash into guys, hold his balance, even getting hit, he would hold his balance, and Thomas was always cool, like good like that, where he could get hit on the shoulder, then spin and then gather his balance, which is not something you see a lot with guys that were that big. And Peter was different, where Peter would still take the hits, but then he'll find the passes and he'll make the extra pass. He'll put in the kick. Just a lot more, all-round skills, I guess it was, with those kind of guys. And so, yeah, I think it's pretty cool. And just seeing this list of players that are there, and then now which makes me wonder, well, who are going to be these next top 200 guys that will make it through as well? Remember, they were young too, and this is where my argument with a lot of people are, and usually it's with older people who are still stuck with that club rugby pathway. And pretty much, if you look at the All Blacks list now, I kind of think I win that argument, is that they're not looking at the pathway of club rugby, really, because all these guys are young as guys. They're all really, really young guys, all under 25, all making the All Blacks. And we're back in the days, it's like, if you were under 25, you definitely probably weren't going to be making the All Blacks. Not like the number how these guys are. I mean, I haven't even looked at how many of these guys are under 25, but I just know that from doing Top 200 that most of these guys, a lot of these guys are under 25. Especially these guys that have just made it. They're all young, under 25 guys. Now, there's a good group mix of guys that are older, like the Joe Moody's and all that kind of stuff, and Ofa Tuangafasi and like those kind of guys. I mean, Dane Cole's obviously. But these guys that are just making it, they're all really young guys. So to me, it's just like, well, I know that New Zealand rugby is saying that club rugby is still an adequate pathway, but it doesn't show up when they start recruiting and then signing development players and then getting guys, bringing guys into those franchises, those super franchises. They're looking at young guys that are guys that have just made it under 20s in New Zealand. They pull them in, and then they're starting to get, starting to braid those guys into that All Blacks weave kind of thing. So, as much as these club guys think that that's still the way that it's going to happen, because New Zealand rugby is telling this is still a great level that we're still looking at, it's just like, not really. You just have to see it. You just have to look at it that way. Like, look at it and go, well, club guys aren't getting there. Club guys are great for club and great for Mitre 10 level where they really do compete. But in terms of starting to build the franchises or to fill in the franchise numbers, they're getting young guys. And to me, it's not that. To me, it's just sad. It's sad that they're being told that it's still a viable place to go to when they know it's not, but they're still feeding that to these long life club guys. I mean, who was the last guy that made the All Blacks because of their club performances? Or who was a guy that went from club straight into Super Rugby? Like, who was a guy that performed so well in club that they brought him into Super Rugby? I wouldn't even know a guy who was that good to do that. I couldn't even remember the last guy that was good enough to do it. Oh, what's that guy's name? There's a Chiefs guy, number 8, big white fella. I think he was from Morrinsville Sports. Alex Bradley, I think his name was. Did he go from club rugby to Super Rugby? And through some injuries, I think he made it through. And then he was there for a while too, like maybe 2 years or 3 years, solid years. I think that was his name. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm just taking a guess right now. It's not research stuff. But like that's what I feel like they're still spinning, is that kind of that kind of talk, probably just to keep it relevant and keep it alive. But I mean, club rugby is not a nationwide. Like I know how much Ponsonby is cared about in Auckland, but nobody else cares about Ponsonby. Like Waikato definitely doesn't care about Ponsonby, just like they don't care about Hautapu, who just won it. Like it's like that. Like we don't care about Havelock North in the Hawke's Bay, or like Norths down in Wellington. Like no one cares about that stuff. No one cares about Lincoln down in Christchurch. So to me, it's just like club rugby isn't a nationwide thing. It's just a community thing, and the community keeps it strong, because definitely in your community, club rugby is big. Even still here in Waikato, it's still big. You still get a lot of people show up to these games at like Fraser Tech and Old Boys, and Marist and Morrinsville and Hautapu. Like there's still a lot of people there. Like Odos, who was in the finals, even they still get a bunch of people still showing up to games, and that's cool. That's great for community. But in terms of professionalism, they're just not coming that way. But that's where I think the love of the game is from. This level is the real love of the game is from club rugby, and I think it's kind of special too, because if you think about all those guys in America, some of the last meaningful football games, especially for football, is that their last meaningful games is as high school kids. They can't play after that. Not American football. Not full pads, full contact, playbooks and everything football. They can't play that because no one puts money into that. Like just the insurance of it is just not right, and that it's kind of like the attitude of like, well, if it's not professional, then why do we play it? Because here in New Zealand, like club rugby is great because you can still be, you don't have to be a professional, but you're still doing it for the love of the game, and the quality of it is still really high. And so, to me, I still think we're lucky that we have that kind of opportunity for guys to still play that game that I love. Or else, mostly everyone will be done by, everyone will be done by 18, unless you got a contract. Yeah. Interesting, I think, anyways. And I don't know, who were the guys that I thought missed out? Maybe a few. I was kind of ashamed. That Lachlan Boucher didn't make it. I thought he was going to make it. Yeah. I don't know how much, but I mean, like, if they were going to make a Pacific team, I think I saw what's it, Ken Levin. He put out his thoughts of what a good Pacific team is. Like, sure, all those players that are left over, man, there's still a bunch of good players that are left over. Yeah, but anyways, that's me for now. Still got some more stuff to write up. Still got some more games that I want to rewatch. Which is kind of what I do most of the time now, is just rewatch games and rewatch guys, and rankings will be updated tomorrow and Wednesday, so have a look out for that. But that's Herschel Fromm from High School Touch 100. Peace.